Ferrari 458, I bought wrecked and attempted to rebuild it in 7 days. But we could only get so far. None of this lines up. We got a lot of the structural repairs done and even fitted a new rear quarter. But there's only so many parts we could get in those 7 days. And we found that some of those parts didn't even fit. But at least, that's what we thought. So now, the front end panels have all been primed, but before we commit to painting all of them, we need to make sure that they actually fit. And to eliminate that anything's bent that's on the car, the first thing I'm going to remove are the bonnet hinges and replace them with new ones. Because there was damage to the old bonnet. Out with the old, and in with the new ones. But they are slightly different. Why do you reckon the studs are so long? I'm a very trustworthy person. And whilst he's doing that, I can start lining up the front wings with the doors, because I can still access the bonnet hinges even though the wings will be on. And even though this front wing is aftermarket, it does line up with the door pretty well, so I'm happy with that. And whilst I'm doing that, we've got Bob from the machine shop continuing his work with the rear quarter. This time, starting to get the dents out of it, because we got it a little bit cheaper because it was damaged. This doesn't look too bad, but if we're moving that side out, we're probably going to have to move this side in. Perfect way to see though is to fit the bonnet. Eventually, Liam got some paint on the hinges, and there was also a bracket of the headlight to fix. Again, we got this headlight cheaper because the bracket was broken, but it actually come with it. So my dad popped a bit of glue on it and stuck it back into place. And by that time, the hinges were dry. Straight out, body shop, look, Liam's body shop. Wow. Are you proud? Thank you, Liam. I mention every time we do a front end damage car that it's always a good idea to change the bonnet hinges, because you'll be forever trying to line the bonnet up if the hinges are slightly bent. And whilst I put them in, Bob's prepped the rear quarter, ready to put some spot welds into it. And of course, this rear quarter is aluminium, so it requires TIG welding. And this type of welding I've never done before. But Bob, on the other hand, is really experienced with it. And if you want to learn how to do it, you can do it at the machine shop, which Bob runs. The link's in the description for that. Right, we're going to put on the bonnet now, because the bonnet is pretty, there's not loads of adjustment in it. We're going to put that on, and then we should be able to move the wings to the bonnet. But let's just see where it sits with the new hinges on it. Might be okay. At the minute, to put the bonnet in, we're using some random nut and bolts just to hold it in place. Because if it does line up, we can send it to the body shop for paint afterwards. But let's see if these new hinges has made a difference with this aftermarket bonnet. It still seems a little off. Not that bad, because it's just high here. Which would say to me it needs to be lifted up, like, you know, like, it needs to go like that. So the bonnet is still slightly out, but now we've got a stock 458 front bumper. We're going to slide that into place and see if it lines up with the wings. And then close the bonnet down to see how it fits there. It's not too far off. The bumper and the wings line up. It's just the bonnet. We couldn't get to work with the wings and the bumper. So it looks like we're going to be spending the next couple of hours on trying to line this bonnet up with the rest of the panels at the front. But no matter what we did, we couldn't get it lined up. Just to make sure there wasn't anything wrong with that bonnet, we took it off and put the old damaged one back in to see if that lined up. Come to the conclusion. The stock bonnet lines up, like, it's not fully on, but the stock bonnet isn't high in the places that bonnet's high. And look, you only have to look at this. If you go down here and look at it from here, look at it, if you go low, look at the distance between the floor and that there, and then the floor and that there. Like, it's fully twisted. The standard bonnet, conclusion, the aftermarket bonnet doesn't fit as well as the original bonnet. So I'm going to have to order an original one and just hope that my theory is correct. All we're doing now is just prepping the car for the body shop. So we're taking off the storage panel at the back for where the roof goes, just so Bob can access the rear quarter a bit more to put in a few more welds. And once he's done that, the car's ready to go to the body shop. Now we have managed to get the car running and driving, so my dad's going to drive it out. Then we've got to pop it in the trailer, and it's going to be at the body shop for about a week. Firstly, the car's going to concentrate on painting the rear quarter and any panel that's actually attached to the car. That way they can get the car back to us as soon as possible. So they're doing the rear quarter first, the primer, a couple of layers of paint, and then the clear coat over the top. Once they're happy with that, the car can go back in the trailer and head back to our unit, where now we can start assembling it whilst the guys at the body shop paint the rest of the panels that we've left there. The last thing to paint, hopefully, which is all of the exposed metal here. And just to have a look, we've got the example of how Ferrari painted it, and they forgot to paint the bottom, which is fine, so we can also forget to paint the bottom. And then they've got, again, like the body shop, I'm applying the primer first onto the bare metal. But unlike the body shop, I'm using an aerosol can. But all of this framework, I think, was only painted just so it stops it corroding rather than looking good. So I don't think I could do any worse than the job than Ferrari, I hope. Once the primer's on, I'm going to go over it with the aerosol, which is colour matched to the body colour paint. A few layers of that, and it's complete.
Do you know what? That paint actually looks quite good.
It's not bad, is it?
No, that's alright.
Maybe I painted a bit more than Ferrari did on that side.
Yeah, look.
Ferrari must have run out of paint there, as I still had some left. Looks actually alright, and we've done a Ferrari job, like handmade, a bit of rattle canning. The door's been painted and repaired where the mirror was as well. The rear quarter has been painted and nicely blended in as well. All our repair is basically non-existent right now as well. We do have to paint inside the rear quarter to finish that off. All the repair all around here, non-existent. Panels are lining up good. It looks like a Carrera GT at the minute. We do need to put because the wing has been painted, the guys are painted into this door as well, so this whole side's sort of been blended in. But the panels are still yet to come back, the wing, bonnet and bumper. But in the meantime, because we've now painted this front frame, we can start fitting in the radiators and bleed the system, which could be quite difficult because the radiators are at the front and where you fill the coolant is at the back, so it's prone to air locks. So let's get the radiator in and we're going to find out whether our fix on the radiator is actually going to work. So when we first took off the existing radiator of the car, we noticed a little hole in the plastic, which is actually going to cause the radiator to leak. But a new radiator was at least a 2-week wait from Ferrari, and we couldn't find a second-hand one anywhere. So instead, my dad tried to fix it by melting plastic zip ties into the hole in the radiator. And it seems to be watertight, but I guess now we'll find out whether it actually works when it runs to temperature once we fit both the front radiators to the car, which is what me and Liam are doing now, which is quite tricky. There's a big plastic shroud after the radiator and one just before. Right, radiators are sort of resting in at the minute, hoses aren't on, but I won't scratch my paint. I need to make sure the hole is big enough for my rib nut, and then I can slide my rib nut with the rib nut tool into the hole that I've just drilled and squash it into place. Once it's in, I can then screw the bolt into my fitting. And Liam's got to do exactly the same on the other side. Once we're happy with that, we can secure up both radiators, and in front of the left side radiator is an aircon condenser, which we've got to slide in as well, and connect the parts which go to it. They bolt in place, those two are in, and Liam's tighten them up. I can go back over to my side and connect the top and bottom radiator hose ready for the coolant to go in. Right, because the radiators are at the front of the car, if you've not seen this device before, then I can only guess that you're not subscribed to the channel. And now's a great time to hit the subscribe button, because this thing is a vacuum filler. It goes into the expansion tank and pulls out all the air out of the system. That's going to blow air fast across there, creating suction out of there, getting rid of all the air. This is now going to create negative pressure inside the cooling system, and we'll be able to tell here if we've got any leaks. You can see the hoses are completely collapsed at the front, and it's holding vacuum. It's got a hope repair holds up to negative pressure, then it's going to hold up to positive pressure with heat. Let's see how we do it. Now that the cooling system is holding a good vacuum, I've got to start filling coolant into it. It's important that I've got the line full of coolant before the vacuum filler sucks it into the cooling system, because we don't want any air in there. And once I've opened the tap, it's now going to suck all the coolant into the cooling system. And we're going to do that until there's no vacuum left in it. Then we can pull the filler off the expansion tank and top up the remaining part with a little watering can. Let's start it, try and run the car's temperature, and we'll see and hope, 1, we have no leaks, which we shouldn't have, because it held vacuum, and 2, whether our radiator fix holds out. Come on. So we can't see the coolant temperature because it's saying that the roof hasn't completed its cycle. But for the roof to complete its cycle, we've got to put the roof on. So let's put the back half of the roof on, then it will know that it's on, and we should be able to see the coolant temperature. So let's do this is the first time we've ever worked on a 458, so we're learning all the little quirks as we go along. Me and my dad are now putting the back part of the roof on, and we're hoping once this is all on, we can complete the roof cycle, which means either opening it or closing it, and then I should be able to scroll through the dash to see the coolant temperature. That's the roof down, and I can scroll through the dash now. Out there, coolant temp, oil temp. Yes, let's test it. Right, we're at 80 degrees. Should get some fans coming on at about 90.
It's got mostly getting warm.
And so far, no leaks.
Yeah, it looks dry to me.
Now it's starting to get to temperature though. Getting up to 90 in a minute.
No, read it. Yeah.
Everyone said that wouldn't work. You were right then. Yeah, it's all dripping down at the bottom. Yeah, look at that. It seems like the heat completely melted the zip ties we put in. The situation is, we can't get a radiator. It's a 2-week wait from Ferrari. So we're going to have to, like, the repair worked to an extent, but I think we just need to go at it a tiny bit more. Try and get some more penetration on the plastic weld, and I think it will hold out, because it's just sweating. There it is, look. Look at that. Ready? Just lift that up, pause out, look at that. You have to let the pressure die down once it's cooled down, and it wouldn't be us if we didn't get coolant on the floor when putting coolant in the car. There it is. Come on, I'm sure we can get this fixed. Right, let's see if we can fix this radiator. Not meant for this purpose. My dad's back at it with the zip ties. Toughest jobs on planet Earth. Withstands extreme temperatures, but only up to 82 degrees.
It's gotta be that one.
It's gotta be that one. So we're gonna attack it with the putter. I wanted to be sure it was nice and dry before I applied it, so I emptied out all the coolant that was in the radiator. Then this putty, you open up and mix together, which activates it. Then I just plaster it all over the radiator where the hole is. And you're supposed to leave it to set for 24 hours. Right, we'll see later on in the video if that's worked. For now, the wings should arrive so we can start putting the wings on. That stinks. Here are the front wings, or fender if you're American. Before we fit them, we've got to drill out a few more holes where the emblem sits into, because the holes in these ones weren't big enough to fit it in. Then we can slide it into place. And they don't talk to each other. It's really interesting finding out how this Ferrari's built, and you can 100% tell it's hand built, which is pretty cool. But that's memories. Now that the emblem's on the wings, I can slide the wings onto the car and line them up with the doors. The body shop have moved the hinges on the passenger side door to make sure it lines up with the quarter. So all I've got to do is make sure the gap between the door and the wing is right, and it looks good on both sides now. Time for the new bonnet. This is a standard bonnet, and it cost me £3,000 brand new. But there's nothing I can do about it. The aftermarket bonnet just wasn't fitting right. I just hope now the stock one does fit, because we've committed to it now. The emblem's on the front, then I'm going to slide this washer pipe through the inside of the bonnet, and then clip on the washer jets, and then slide them into the bonnet.
Insert, wash, going. Yes.
Yay! Yeah, but this all could change when we put the bumper on. I think, well, how long's it been since we put this on?
About 6.
6 hours, close enough to 24, yeah. Should we give it a try, see if it leaks? Let's run it up. Here goes nothing. Let's run the coolant up to temperature, and all eyes on our repair. This has to work. Come on. We're at 90. How are we looking? So far, everything's looking good until... Oh, no, it's
Oh, yeah, look.
We're down to last resorts. We don't give up, we're not quitters. Let's just cake it in it. Come on. I think I read somewhere one time that the definition of insane is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result each time. Well, looks like we're insane. We've committed to putting more epoxy on that radiator and hoping for the best. This car has to be ready in a couple of days, and you'll see why towards the end of the video. But now, the exciting parts are happening. The front bumper is coming to meet the wings for the first time since they've been painted. And so far, so good. Looking really good there. But that will change when we close the bonnet. You can see it was just sitting a little too hard. So we had to do what Ferrari had to do. Use spacers. These are going to sit underneath the bumper, which will raise it up, and then we can put the bolts back through it. If we did this on any other car, it would seem a bit of a bodge. But the fact that there were spacers on this car from factory doesn't make me feel bad about it. And that has almost done it.
Definitely made a difference.
It has made a difference. I reckon if we compromise a bit now and come a little bit down on the latch, we might be alright. I think the bonnet is still sitting a little high, so I've gone underneath it to pull down the latch to make the bonnet now sit flush with the front bumper, which was good. It's really coming together. And now that we're happy with the alignment at the front, me and Liam are going to start assembling the tub and all the panels on the front end, including the window wipers and the tub seal. Whoa! And the good news is that the washers work. Final few bits on the front end now, and that will be the under trays. Luckily, these survived the accident, so we can reuse them. They slide underneath the bumper each side, and then there's loads of bolts which hold it into place. That's job done underneath there. Back down again for the arch lining. I had to replace the part on the left-hand side, but all the ones on the right-hand side were all good to go again. And with them installed, the front end is pretty much complete. Yeah, I really like it. The body shop said it does need a mop-up and a polish, because it's just come fresh out of paint. I'm not too worried about that at the minute. For now, we're going to carry on building up the rear end of the car, which I think, bumper on first, but before the bumper, we do have an exhaust. Well, let me show you it. Possibly. Okay, so first things first, let's get the original back box off the exhaust system. There's 2 clamps each side. One of them snaps, but the other one come off quite easily. After that, there's loads of exhaust hangers which hold the exhaust to the chassis of the car. We've got to undo every single one which connects the back box to the car. After that, we're going to need to undo this bracket here just to give us enough room to wiggle the exhaust out. Final few hangers now which I'm undoing. Then there's these hoses which connect to the valve. They've got to be unplugged. And then I'm actually going to disconnect the pipe which connects the 2 back boxes together, which took a bit of persuading. Once that's out, it'll be a lot easier to remove the back boxes, one on each side. And you can see the difference in size between the stock one and the Valvetronic one. Old back box off, so now we've got standard exhaust headers, catalytic converters straight out. The old back box is massive compared to that. Then you have the standard valve. So the valve will open or close, and I guess there's some kind of redirection inside the back box. So the exhaust gases always take the fastest route. Engine gets vacuum, it will probably open the valves, get louder. On these, on the Valvetronic system, I can plug it into an electronic one so I can put it with a button, but I think I'm just going to stick with the stock one because it's still got the vacuum thing that I can plug the vacuum line onto, and it should still work the same as standard. So once you start revving it, it builds up a vacuum, that will open, and then the exhaust gases go down here into the silencer and out through the back. But when this is open, like that, this will go down here and straight out the back. So that's going to sound pretty cool, but we need to do the obligatory start up without the back box to see what it sounds like. Oh God. It's not got like the tone, has it? But it's got like the bang. It sounds like deeper now. Yeah, it's not as loud as I thought it was going to be. I think mainly all the sound, it comes from, the actual sound is coming from the headers, but then the tone is coming from the back box. So let's put this back box on and see if we get like the actual tone, but I don't think it's going to be any louder than that. If anything, it's going to be quieter, which could be okay for us. This is very unlike me. Normally, we go for a crazy loud exhaust. The issue is, if I did put the headers on and those front pipes, we would have a crazy loud exhaust, but we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing tomorrow with the car. So for now, on goes the Valvetronic back box. It'll be interesting to see what difference this makes in sound. This fits in the exact same way as the OEM one does. So 2 vacuum lines. Here, these are solenoids, there, and the bottom 2 hoses coming out of there are going down here to this tank, which holds vacuum from the engine. So all the time, this is pulling vacuum when the car's running, so it's sucking. But these solenoids won't let the vacuum pass actually. So we've got to replace these standard vacuum lines which lead from the solenoids to the valves. But once we removed them, we realised one side was small and the other side was big. So we was going to have to make a modification for them to work. Once they were both removed, my dad found some fuel pipe which fitted onto the solenoids, and then the pipe we got with the Valvetronic exhaust was going to pop a little bit of glue onto it and slide it into the fuel pipe. Again, this is just negative pressure which is running through these, so it shouldn't burst off the vacuum line. I've now got to cut the line down to size on one side and then slide in another vacuum line into the other side and cut that down to size. Then I can route the hose onto the valve of the exhaust on one side and on the valve of the exhaust on the other side. Now that they're on, we can tighten all the hangers down and tighten up all the exhaust clamps, connecting it to the rest of the standard exhaust. Valvetronic back box fitted. Exhaust tight, let's give it a demo. And the good thing, I've actually gone sensible like a Ferrari owner right now, because it's just going to give it a bit of noise. It's actually a completely legal system with the original valves. See what it sounds like, because I'm a classy guy. Beg to differ. It's a little bit loud to stop.
It sounds, that's a good sound, that is.
Yeah, it's like quite a nice sound, though.
What do you think?
It's not a lot of difference from before. It's a bit more raspier.
It's quite nice. It's not too loud. I can still have a conversation behind the car, not the SVJ where it's just game over. Pretty good though. Let's start assembling the rear end. So with the exhaust on, we can now start fitting the rest of the body panels. First off, is this panel which sits just behind the engine, which has a brake light in it. Pop all the bolts in for that. This is how it come out. 4 washers underneath. And Ferrari use 4 washers to space out the bottom of the panel to make sure it aligns with the bumper. So I'm just going to put in the same 4 washers that come out on each side. Now we find out whether it's like that or like that. We did put the same amount of spaces in as usual, but we have put this bar in, and that's what that sits on. So, and this bar, there's no really like proper place to put it. So if the gap is a bit bigger at the top of the bumper, then we've got to take out a spacer to lower it down. Same on that side. So that's why the spacers are in. This will sit flat, nice there against the bumper. And here is the new bumper, which I managed to find on eBay. And as a bonus, it's got little carbon bits in it, which I think are optional extras. We transferred over everything off our bumper, which was good, like the camera and the parking sensors.
That does look quite good, doesn't it?
Got it painted, and then we can fit it to the car. And so far, it's lining up pretty well. All we've got to do now is bolt it to the car, clip in the electrical connectors to the parking sensors and the rear camera, and then we can fit the rear light slide in on each side. And then there's 3 nuts on the back of them, which you can get to through the rear arch. Not forgetting to plug them in afterwards. It's really starting to look good now.
Yeah.
Once the rear bumper's on, I can now do the final fittings in the engine bay, which is all the engine covers on the left side and the right hand side, which really smartens up that engine bay. And finally, the car can go back in the air, because of course we need to fit the rear diffuser. Luckily, this was undamaged in the accident, so we can slide it into place and put in the original screws, and it's almost like it never happened. 1 diffuser and bumper fitted to the car. Finally, the arch lining. All of the arch lining on the rear we were able to use again. None of it was damaged. Okay, can't put this front arch lining in because there's a nut and bolt here, which I need to access to put the side skirt on. I can't put the side skirt on because the ramp is really close. So what we're going to have to do is pop it on its wheels, lower it down, and then we can move it back. But whilst it's back, we should be able to build the door up and the interior whilst I put the arch lining in and the side skirt. Sounds like a plan, is the plan. Let's get the wheels on, roll it back. So let's pop on the wheels that we bought in the last video, and then we'll be able to roll the car forward to work on the interior. And once I see this car on the floor, it was getting me excited to see the final product. We're not quite there yet.
Freshly repaired door card. Is that not amazing?
Now if you remember, when we picked the car up, only 2 airbags were deployed, and they were in the door cards, both left and right hand side. So we removed the door card and sent it off to Auto Trim to be repaired. Then all we had to do is buy 2 new airbags for the driver's side and the passenger side. Once we've got the airbags, we can then refit them into the door cards each side, and they're just about ready to be refitted onto the door. Whilst we were doing that, I bought a wing mirror glass, and I had to buy this one new. The 2 electrical connectors which clip onto the back of the mirror over the heat, and then it just pushes into place. Once I've done that, I can jack up the left hand side of the car, remove both wheels, and it's time to fit the side skirt. One freshly painted skirt of the side, or if you're from America, they call these rockers. Once I've fitted the plastic bracket which it slots into, I can then push the side skirt in place, and there's a bunch of bolts underneath it and a few on top. Then this carbon Ferrari kick panel just sticks over the top of the bolts. I can now finally put in the nut and bolt which connects the side skirt to the rear quarter, and once that's in, I can now fit the arch lining at the back. Moving on to the seat belts. These have come back from the airbag team after the explosive in them had been replaced, because when the airbags go, the seat belts will deploy as well, locking them out to hold the passenger and driver into the seats. But now that they've been reset, I can refit them back into the car, and once I've refitted them, I can start reinstalling all the leather trim which covers over it. Job done here. Then finally, I can put a door seal in and the kick panel on the right hand side. Right, this side of the trim is all in. The car does need a bit of a clean out. We're getting there. Seatbelt is in. Seatbelt attached to the seat which we're going to put in. Still don't know whether this car drives without any faults. It's going to need a 4-wheel alignment. But right now, the time is 11:30 at night, and we've got to have the car ready for 6 o'clock tomorrow morning because we are going to be driving it somewhere which you will see. So, because we don't want to stop and order food, we've got the perfect meal replacement, which is one of the many Y Foods, of course. Now, Y Food is a meal replacement drink. It's not a diet drink, it's not a protein shake, it simply replaces one meal throughout the day and make sure you're getting all the vitamins and minerals that your body needs up for your next meal.
Yes.
Yes. The question is, has the airbag light gone off? And the answer is, even though that we've reinstalled both airbags each side and refitted the seats and the seatbelts, we still have that airbag light on. So I was going to plug in the code reader just to see if we could cancel it off. But once we read the codes, there were still 11 faults in the airbag system, and the car needed to be ready. Despite the airbag fault, the 458 was complete. She looked great. She is done and looks, if you've seen Top Gear, now I wanted to see whether my 458 could match that. This is such a strange moment because I'm not driving.
Sounds good.
He sent it. Now this was just Ben's warm-up lap, just to make sure everything was working. So far, so good.
Well, the brakes work. That's always a relief.
Once the car got to the final corners, it started to go a little downhill.
First lap complete.
First sign of trouble is the...
That's flying!
It's locked up!
Oh my God, what is going on here? Let's cycle this poor car.
It died.